For a person with a strong will, nothing is difficult, even if he's not physically fit. But when you're healthy, you can achieve anything. But how to acquire this willpower? The answer will be given to you by the heroes of the new episode of Colors of Asia. Hello, you're watching Colors of Asia. They say that a person cannot be weak if the strength of the spirit lives in him. Moreover, it's not the one who can break the will of the other who is stronger, but the one who inspires and leads others with his character and personal example. In this episode, we will talk about people with disabilities who have proved that a strong person turns dreams into reality. Speaking with this guy, we noticed that he's a very modest person. At the same time, he's talented, purposeful, and most importantly, a solid person. You know, one can envy him because he was not only able to organize what he dreamed of for a long time, he set up his business in such a way that everyone who came to him once always come back and become like-minded people. They understand that after being in sports clubs led by this young man, they're motivated to always be healthy, strong, and energetically charged. His name is Sanjar Kalman. He's a candidate for Master of Sports in table tennis among power athletes, a member of the Almaty national team. In 2014, the famous coach Zoya Ananyeva brought him to the sport. It took a little more than 6 months for this guy to prove himself, and in 2015, he took 4th place in the Republican competition. This was a good result, given that there were 13 participants in his class. Paralympians are divided by class. There are 10 classes. People who need a wheelchair play from the 1st to 5th class. And the 6th club and up include people who can walk but who still require assistance while moving. The higher the class, the faster the person moves. I play in the 9th class since my legs are healthy and I move quickly. In 2018, I went to competitions in Petropavl. I took 2nd place and fulfilled the requirements of the candidate for the Master of Sports. Now I have the main task, to become a Master of Sports. In the Republican Championship, you need to take the 1st place. This is my main goal. After that, I can get into the national team of Kazakhstan, and in the future, I can participate in international competitions. Sanjar does not hide his love for the table tennis. He says that this sport is the 3rd most popular in the world, and he wishes that there would be as many amateurs and professionals as possible in Kazakhstan. In general, tennis is difficult in its own way, physically. It takes a lot of work. In 10 minutes, you can get very tired because there are many movements. Coordination is also required. First of all, for the eyes. While you're moving constantly, all your muscles work. Besides, it develops speed and reaction, and thinking. It's very important to think how to deceive the opponent. What is the best way to play? When to start the attack. And this sport helps the young men cope with fatigue and stress. Of course, everyone has difficult periods in their lives. There's depression when you have a lot of worries or physically don't have time to do something. And when I come to play tennis, I'm distracted, I forget about all my problems, just concentrate on it, and I don't want to think about anything else. I play with pleasure. Sanjar tries to be philosophical about his illness. As it turned out, he's had it since birth, and it's not even a disease. This is the so-called Klippel-Feil syndrome, which has not yet been fully studied. It could be genetics, but we didn't have that in our family. I've been thinking about it my entire life because there are moments when it really torments why this happened to me. But despite this, I don't give up. The most important thing is that I am alive, I can see, I can hear, I can speak, I can think, I can express my thoughts. I believe that the most important thing is knowledge, your thinking. I mean, everything in your head, and of course, heart and soul.
То есть все, что у тебя в голове, это самое главное. Ну и сердце, и душа, конечно, в первую очередь. У каждого человека бывают разные ситуации.
Each person faces different situations, and no one can be in his place. We can understand him, he can tell us what's wrong with him, but we will never be able to understand how he truly feels, what he has deep down. He might open up a little. Therefore, everything is individual, but everything can be overcome. Many people have thoughts about suicide, but this is the worst-case scenario, and this, in general, will not solve the problem. You need to always look for a way out. Don't feel down, brace yourself, take responsibility, and make a decision. Step by step, you have to overcome yourself, starting with small details. In order to achieve a major goal, you need to start with small steps.
Ты должен как бы преодолевать, то есть. Начиная с мелких деталей.
Starting with small steps, you reach a certain goal.
Начинать с мелких шагов.
And when you see the result, then you get spiritually better.
Ты видишь результат?
You are in a mood. And in order not to lose this moment, you need to develop further.
В духовном плане немножко лучше.
Let's say you have to do something you like.
То есть как бы и не потерять.
And the moment you do this, you'll forget about other problems.
Нужно заняться чем-то, что тебе нравится, допустим.
And that depression will slowly subside.
Ты будешь забывать о других проблемах, и вот эта как бы депрессия, она будет потихоньку спадать.
Just a few years ago, the hero of the story had a dream to lead a professional tennis club, and it came true. He opened it with his close friend, Aybun Medilkhan. It used to be an unprofitable banquet hall. After they started renting this place, it immediately became popular among the residents. We laid professional floor covering here, and the tables are good. These are medium tables. They're not the best, but not cheap either. They're nice tables. Indoor lighting is also important, and the ceilings here are high. For professional level, these are very important things. There are a lot of halls in Almaty, but they are more designed for commerce. Between the tables, there is a distance of 1 meter. Behind the table, there is a distance of 2 meters. This is not suitable for our game. We need to have a certain large square on one table, so that there are high ceilings. This is very important for the professional level. And I can safely say that our hall, after the Federation Hall, is in the second place in terms of professional level. Various tournaments are constantly held here. At the same time, of course, there is an intensity of passion and emotions. Everyone is in a good mood here, and no wonder, because for the owners of the club, this is a priority. Competitions are held on different systems. There are many options for how to conduct it. I did research. When I came to the competition, I asked about everything: grid, tables, or for example, what are the options and how many people can play together. Let's say if there are 32 people, then you need to hold a competition on another system because it can take a long time. Let's say the tournament lasts 5 hours, which is a lot. People get tired. Therefore, it's necessary to combine so that people have time to play. At the same time, they're not tired, so that they can play to the end. And there are such tournaments where you played 3 games and left. I mean, I paid and didn't have enough time to play. It's a little frustrating, isn't it? And I understand all this, and I know. Therefore, I tried to make sure that people have enough time to play, not in terms of commerce, but in terms of the development of table tennis in Kazakhstan, not only in Almaty. I know Sanjar from the foundation of this club. I know that he's a candidate for Master of Sports in table tennis. He's a good and positive person, very strong and excellent player. The next tournament is held here. Tournaments are often held here, 3 or 4 times. As you can see, a lot of people come, a lot of amateurs, great athletes, good and strong players. As a person and as an athlete, he certainly inspires. because not everyone can achieve such results today, become a candidate for Master of Sports. Of course, this is admirable. When you observe him, you get goosebumps. And if you look at how he plays, he will give a head start to any athlete. As a coach, everything seems to happen automatically with him. When you play with him, he tells you how to hold the racket correctly, where to put your feet. Everyone has their own style of the game, their own personality in the game. Sanjar plays very soft and is spectacular. Somewhere you need to play softer, somewhere tougher, and in this regard, Sanjar is predictable. As it turned out, para-athletes of Almaty table tennis team train in this club every day. Moreover, for unlimited time and for free. Pensioners and people with disabilities are always provided with benefits, and it's very important that eminent masters of sports constantly come here so many fans have the opportunity to measure their strength with high-class professionals and learn a lot from them.
Наша задача не так, чтобы там, не знаю, заработать какие-то.
Our goal is not to earn a lot of money. First of all, this is for the soul, for the development. Because I have dreamt of opening my own hole for a long time. I dreamt of working in this sphere since I like it. I know a lot of things about it. When I take a racket and just knock with it, I throw the ball where I need it, and if they hit the table 10 times, then they get excited. They're already interested in playing, and they leave satisfied. They say that they will definitely come again. Now I need to make sure I get the Master of Sports, and after that I will already think about coaching, about recruiting children, or about opening my own school. In general, we have a place for it. We have everything. The only thing left is to open a school and raise the level of the table tennis in Kazakhstan. The prospects are good.
Перспективы очень хорошие, я думаю. Я считаю так, да.
Герои следующего сюжета.
The heroes of the next story live in Dushanbe. These are famous people in Tajikistan and beyond. She constantly presents her clothing collections at many international festivals and fashion shows. While he can play 16 musical instruments, but his creative activity is not limited to this. And all this despite the disability which unfortunately did not bypass our heroes. She never felt like a disabled person and a person who makes little contribution to society. Disability is not a disease, says clothing designer Nigina Ikromova. I can sometimes get the flu, like all other people, and the rest of the time make my contribution to the development of the country.
Вот с детства моя мама, она была тоже швеей, я сидела рядом.
Since my childhood, my mother, who was also a seamstress, and I sat next to each other.
Тоже шила, но у меня ручная такая машинка была старенькая, и это тоже мамина.
She sewed, as well as I did. But I had a mechanical sewing machine. It was my mom's too. I sewed for dolls first, with this one.
Я уже стала шить вот электрической машинкой.
And then gradually from 1998, I began to sew on an electric sewing machine.
В 2003 году одна моя подружка, она ходила на курсы.
I couldn't sew trousers and suits, it was a bit complicated. In 2003, a friend of mine who took courses taught me how to sew jackets, and then other things.
Фасоны вот такие, да, разные модели уже я сама делаю. Вот видите, вот такие шкафы.
I make different models. You see, I make such caskets and boxes. It's from cardboard.
Когда вот эта пандемия
When the pandemic started, I had no clients for a month.
у меня на где-то
But I couldn't sit idle. That's what I did. I made caskets, skull caps, and different handbags.
Этим занималась. Шкатулки, тюбетейки я делаю, сумочки делаю разные.
Until the age of 3, she was an ordinary child. Like all children, she ran and jumped. And then, after an improperly made vaccination, she stopped walking. When she went to school for the first time, she felt awkward. Everyone around looked at her in bewilderment, pointing fingers at her. But this did not confuse the girl, and she continued to study. Over time, classmates became accustomed to her illness, began to help, and in the morning, they brought her to school. And at the end of the day, they took her back home. Today, Nigina Ikromova is an independent and confident woman. Her successes can be envied, though before that, she had to go through a lot. In 1996, her father tragically died, and she had to think about how to make money. So she started sewing for everyone, her friends, neighbors, and her classmates. Then she went to university, but she did not forget how to sew. In 2013, Nigina emerged as a clothing designer for the first time, and since then has been actively participating in all fashion shows that take place in Tajikistan. By the way, she's the first designer in the country who invites girls with disabilities as models to show her collections.
Я пошла к Мукараме Каюмовой, известной нашей модельер, и она мне...
I went to Mukarama Kayumova, a famous fashion designer, and she advised me to create a collection of clothes called 7 Days of the Daughter-in-Law.
Мне невестки сделала вот такую коллекцию.
She also said, if you have time, there is about a month and a half left. We will have an international fashion and craft festival called Beautiful Land. Fashion designers from many countries will come to this festival, and you can introduce your models there.
Со многих странах они приезжают модельеры, и вы можете выступать там. И мы пришли, и вы знаете, какой-то...
We managed to do it. You know, I had energy. I wanted to participate in this festival, so I agreed to prepare everything, even in a week.
Неделю, чтобы готовили все, но, слава богу...
But thank God we bought everything we needed, worked on this collection with girls day and night, and showcased our collection. We were fashion designers from 6 countries, as well as from our country. And I was the only one with a disability.
С 6 стран мира были модельеры, и наши тоже были, но мы только были с инвалидностью. Еще моя коллекция такая, что я...
I also have an inclusive collection that I do all the time because I don't want everything to be separate. I mean 50 by 50. For example, 50% of girls with disabilities went to the runway and 50% of ordinary models. We got the prize and it was so joyful.
И у нас мы получили приз, и все, это так радостно было.
In March 2021, Nigina Kromova opened a company that helps craftsmen with disabilities to express their interests. She really wants people with disabilities to acquire skills, work, earn money, and become independent. And she's successful at it.
Почему дома сидеть и сказать, что я с инвалидностью?
Why should we sit at home and say that since I'm disabled, I will be at home and everyone should help me?
Вот, все должны мне помогать. Это такой...
You don't have to say that all the time. Now, if you sit and wait, gradually your body, thoughts, everything will go numb.
Постепенно у тебя организм...
If you sit and think about bad things like I'm disabled, I have to be at home and everyone must help me, this is also wrong. You need to do something. You need to earn money for yourself. I make money myself, thank God. I don't need anyone to buy me anything.
Мне будут помогать. Это тоже неправильно. Вот надо что-то делать, надо самой зарабатывать. Вот вы знаете, я сама зарабатываю, слава богу. Вот я ни в ком не нуждаюсь. Я что хочу, я...
I often want to repeat these words. We are different, but equal. Look at me, not my disability.
Разные, но равные. И смотрите на меня, а не на мою инвалидность.
Secret chord, you would play and please the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you?
Activist, writer, musician, poet, this is all about Akbar Karimov, who lost his sight almost 20 years ago because of medical error. But despite this, he's not discouraged and pleased with his life, probably because he's doing what he loves. A few years ago, Akbar became famous far beyond his country, becoming a finalist on the television show Asia's Got Talent. Today, he writes new songs, uploads them on the internet, and makes his fans happy.
I
remember playing with other children outside and sand hit my eyes. After that, there was only one veil in front of me. I was led to an ophthalmologist who said I had to have an operation right away. My parents agreed. The operating room was the last thing I saw. The first year for me was the most difficult and scary. Everything scared me, to stay along, any loud sounds, any noise, voices of strangers, and I often dreamt that I can see. After this kind of dreams, I woke up horrified. It was very difficult, but gradually I got used to my state. After that, I began to adapt to new life. Another challenge for Akbar was the loss of his mother. She died in a fire in their house. It was an irreparable loss. Therefore, his father tried to help his son in everything and entered him in a special school for the blind. He really wanted Akbar, no matter what, to be able to study. I lived for music. It was music that calmed me when I was in the dark. Even loved ones could not do this. When I was in the hospital, I often listened to songs by one of the pop singers, and today, when I hear the songs, I involuntarily remember those days. My first musical instrument was a small children's synthesizer. My mother taught me how to play it. After I mastered the accordion, then percussion instruments and rubab. In general, I feel music with all my heart and see the world through it. Akbar Karimov perfectly plays on 16 musical instruments. To hone his skills, he comes to the Metropolitan Museum of Musical Instruments. There are always many tourists here. Some of them especially come here to see the performance of a young musician.
Heard so far, this is extraordinary good. I have seen 4 different instruments what he's playing blind, and he has a very good feeling for the music, which is maybe a benefit that he's blind because he's focused on his ears and his feelings, and he is extremely talented, and his voice is also powerful. He can express emotions, so I would say
there is no way Akbar sees himself as disadvantaged. He always says, "I'm not blind. I see the whole world not with my eyes, but with my soul." And there are many such people on our planet, and among them, an incredible number of real talents. The first thing I would like to advise people with disabilities, you need to accept what is now inevitable. I understand this is very difficult, and it's not easy. But having come to this, a person understands that everyone has his own mission in this world, and he must live for this. I now give the floor to our colleagues from Tashkent. Just the other day, they finally managed to meet with an outstanding athlete, the pride of the entire Uzbekistan. In 2016, at the Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, this javelin thrower won a gold medal for the country's national team, and a year later he set a new world record at the World Championship. Of course, this is only the beginning. Perhaps everyone, without exception, has difficulties in life. The most important thing is to find strength in yourself, go on with your life knowing that each difficulty only makes you stronger. Paralympians are the perfect example of people with incredible fortitude, who despite limited opportunities, amazed with their achievements that often go beyond what is expected from them in the real world. The hero of this reportage is the Paralympic champion, the current holder of the world record in javelin throwing, the visually impaired athlete Alexander Svechnikov. He lives in Tashkent. He constantly trains and believes that you can't give up, you always need to go forward to achieve something in life.
Я, если честно, не хотел заниматься легкой атлетикой.
To be honest, I didn't want to engage in athletics, especially javelin throwing. I didn't like it. I wanted to play football or another sport, but it so happened that my mother didn't take me to other clubs. She said that I should do this particular sport, so I came to athletics. In the process, of course, I already began to like the sport, and it became my life.
Стало нравиться этот вид спорта. Я стал этим жить.
Alexander began his career as a healthy athlete. Vision problems began to appear in adolescence. Despite this, he continued to do javelin throwing.
Я учился в интернате в колледже.
I went to boarding school, the Olympic Reserve College, and I never thought about the Paralympics. I participated in competitions with other healthy athletes. I performed at the Asian Youth Games. These were my first major competitions. I performed in Qatar and took 4th place there. But the disease doesn't appear out of nowhere, and the young man had to face disability. In childhood, I had a lot of injuries. I fell on my head from the 2nd floor. Because of this, my vision began to deteriorate. I told my parents, but we didn't do anything particular about it. And then, when it got worse and worse, we started doing some kind of treatment. But it didn't work out. Maybe it didn't work out financially, and so I was offered to join the Paralympic team.
И так получилось, что предложили попробовать пойти в Паралимпию.
Alexander's mother, honored trainer of Uzbekistan Yelena Svechnikova, played a major role in his life. She made an invaluable contribution to her son's achievements. During the most difficult moments when it seemed the young man was forced to say goodbye to a big sport, she was the one who said no and directed the future world champion's energy to a positive outlook on life. After receiving a disappointing diagnosis, Alexander remained in sports due to her assistance and boundless support. I still did not understand whether there is a difficulty in the fact that mom is a mom and the coach is a coach, whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. I've twisted my leg. An ordinary mom, not a coach mom, would have said, I've rest for a couple of days. But my mother said to me, why are you sitting? Go running. I think that my mom sees much more than the coach, and she feels much more too. Of course, one can imagine what kind of pride Yelena Svechnikova was filled with when in 2016, her son simply blew up the stadium at the Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro and brought victory to the national team of his country.
Pakistan, 18 years of age. First attempt, 61.08, had him in front.
After all, it was her contribution too. And this triumph wasn't the last in the athlete's career, because the mother coach would not allow her son to relax and rest on his laurels. Therefore, exactly a year later, Alexander set a world record for javelin throwing, and it was truly beautiful and magnificent.
All 4 of his throws to date, leading to a championship record. Here's his 5th throw. Oh, that is fantastic! That looks very close.
The fate of Alexander Svechnikov is also an example of the fact that you can achieve a miracle if you set a goal, if you work and constantly overcome yourself. After a number of major victories at international competitions, he had the opportunity to receive expensive treatment, which gave positive results. Therefore, today, Alexander is already training as an ordinary athlete, and now he faces other tasks. But as he says, over the years past, in the Paralympics, he witnessed many examples of incredible fortitude.
I
was part of the Paralympic team for 4 years, and you know I like Paralympians more than ordinary people. When I was in Rio, I remember this moment for the rest of my life, when there was a girl from another team who stood in the dining room, and she did not have 2 arms, and the young man in a wheelchair, and she sat on his lap, and they kissed and hugged. I will remember it for the rest of my life. Love has no barriers. They're doing incredible things. Paralympic games were held, tennis. Some people can't play with their hands, and they hold a racket in their teeth and play. The abilities of Paralympians are unlimited. The entire national team of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Paralympians, they do incredible things. I'm very happy for them, although I was not there, but they will always remain part of my family.
Республики Узбекистан, паралимпийцев.
I'll train in a healthy sport, and with God's help, I will achieve even more than what I already did.
Станется какой-то частью моей семьи.
Dear friends, I want to remind you that you can watch all the episodes of our program on the Qazaq TV's official website and its YouTube channel. Write to us and leave your feedback. This helps our creative teams in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan to always keep the pace and create interesting programs. You have watched Colors of Asia. See you next time.